Hi, and welcome to Newsmakers for inside analysis and behind-the-scenes commentary from Santa Barbara's top journalists about the most important news events in our community. I'm Jerry Roberts. Tonight, in a special post-election wrap-up, we look behind these headlines. The youngest and the oldest candidate emerge from the free-for-all assembly race for the two spots on the November ballot. Doss Williams holds off the challenge from Laura Capps, but bruised feelings on all sides of Santa Barbara's progressive community remain from their epic 1st District race. A late burst of campaigning in IV appears to have saved Supervisor Joan Hartman from a runoff. And in our political remix segment, we'll talk about whether Salud Carbajal would rather run with Bernie Sanders or Joe Biden at the head of the ticket. Our panel tonight, Delaney Smith, staff writer for the Santa Barbara Independent. Josh Molina, who covers politics and policy for Newshawk. And Nick Welsh, executive editor for the Indy. Thank you all for coming. So Delaney, on the assembly race, let's start close to home. Mayor Cathy Murillo appears to have fallen just short, or at least short, in third place, not making the runoff. Were you surprised that she didn't do better?
No.
Nick?
You asked a yes or no question. What do you expect?
I expected Cathy to be in third place. I thought maybe she'd be in second, but it was unlikely. In the beginning of the race, I didn't think so. But I think she made third place because she doesn't have any Ventura connections. She said she did because I think, in the 90s she lived there?
Don't be dissing the 90s.
I don't think anyone remembers her living there in the 90s. Thanks. I don't think anyone remembers her living there in the 90s. Steve Bennett, however, he has 5 terms as supervisor in Ventura, and then he was a city council member before that.
Really? He's a moldy piece of bread.
Right. He's a moldy piece of bread with almost 3 decades of knowledge, experience.
And he was a teacher. He probably taught half the students.
For 2 decades before city council. I mean, it goes back a long time, so he has so many connections in that community. And then, although he didn't have any connections in Santa Barbara, he had the Santa Barbara Independent endorsement, and I think that made the difference. I really do. I do.
Yeah.
And although Cathy was second place I do, seriously.
No, I do too. I don't
although Cathy was
that.
second place just in Santa Barbara County, if you're not adding the numbers together, Steve was much, much, much closer than if you look at Ventura County, where she was much further behind.
Yeah. So this is the first time in the 21st century that Santa Barbara will not have the assembly person from this district. You've talked to Bennett enough. Do you think that's going to be a problem for people here being heard?
I don't think so. I think Bennett is connected enough, and I think Santa Barbara County Democratic Party probably will embrace him. So I think it will be maybe an issue at first in terms of people getting to know him better, but he's the kind of guy who, if you planted him here, would be extraordinarily popular.
You know who won't be talking to him, is the real estate lobby here. They spent $850,000 at this point
700 the last time
to smear him and Cathy Murillo.
And they were really smears. Too,
yeah, he was the moldy bread, she was the chatty Cathy, and the local real estate guys are going, great. He's going to win. We know he's going to win. And why is he going to take our phone call after this campaign?
And they were doing it on behalf of Jason, who got, almost 7%, something like that?
Yeah, their tactics didn't work at all, really. Jason did not. None of the other candidates did well, and that's because Cole took the big chunk.
Of the R's.
Cole.
Charles Cole, 22-year-old, dropped out of City College because it's too radical.
Yes.
Is that right?
Charles.
No. Well, he went to Josh's class. So
that was it.
That was the end of that.
You were teaching secular humanism in the guise of journalism?
Delaney and Charles Cole were in the same room for 80 minutes.
I have no recollection.
We don't, because he was in the back of the room and listened.
So your guy Abood, who you were...
That would be Jonathan.
Who, you were pretty high on. He kind of underperformed, huh? What happened there?
I don't know. He's very popular in Isla Vista and among young people, and he worked really hard.
He did.
I think that maybe there's just so many Democratic candidates that there's just not enough to go around. And Kathy had the greatest name recognition. Jonathan's going to probably do very well going forward, whatever he decides to do down the road. He has enough time. I think maybe people are looking for experience. They're looking for a little bit more than just somebody who's eager with lots of ideas. Steve Bennett is the total opposite of that. Even Kathy Murillo's got that service as council member and mayor. A lot of people were ahead of him in terms of people who could demonstrate, here's what I've done, as opposed to the ideas. He does work really hard, though, and he's a good campaigner. It's just sort of the timing was not right for him.
And he was not at the Democratic celebration downtown, Jonathan. Is that correct?
Yeah, well, he would have been in IV, and I think he showed up for a really brief period of time, but he left because he was losing.
But is he on the outs of the party now because he kind of went against Kathy?
Yeah, there'll be some bruised feelings, but I think they're going to get over that because Jonathan is a very good organizer, and he's been very good at getting out the vote in Isla Vista. And I think that people who can deliver what he can deliver have something to offer that the party needs.
And you talked to Charles on election night.
Mm-hmm.
Did he seem to understand this was probably going to be all downhill from here?
No, he did not seem to understand that, even though he did say that he acknowledges that likely the reason that he won was solely because he was the only Republican and not because of his campaign or any of his values or points. He did say that, but he didn't seem to understand that there's absolutely no possible way in November he will win this.
So do you think we should have 4 Bennett Cole debates set up for the fall?
No.
No. Okay. All right. So, Josh, in the end, it appears that Das Williams won a smashing 735 ballot landslide. There's still 40,000 ballots out, though. Is that going to make any difference?
I don't think so. I think that typically the leads grow. We're talking about Das Williams, who's endorsed by the Democratic Central Committee. They have a huge get out the vote on election day, and I think he's probably going to benefit from all of the people who voted on election day more so than Laura Capps. Just by the numbers, Das has more on the ground volunteers than Laura Capps does. Laura Capps may not did. She may not agree with that, but the party's network apparatus is just so large, and they were doing it for everybody on the ticket. So yes, there's a lot that are left, but I mean, she would have to have so many more. It would not make sense.
Mathematically, not gonna happen.
But isn't it the case, Nick?
No.
And you'll agree with me on this, that while typically the ballots that come in late are liberal or left ballots, that this time in the specific conditions of this election, a lot of people were holding on to their ballots because of the presidential thing and waiting to see if Biden was going to be viable in South Carolina.
Did you? Is that from InfoWars, or where'd you get that?
No, it's true. It's absolutely true. It is true.
It is true.
I mean, nobody thought Biden was going to get like 25% in California.
Yeah.
So, no, the spin is, from the camp's camp is, that the Biden voters are going to be more, friendly to Laura, and so that.
Yeah, I don't know how, if it's going to break that way or not. I do know that. I waited.
It's a lot of votes.
It's a lot of votes, and it's actually 8,000 votes in that district. A lot of people held on to the last minute, and I think that for Laura to make up 735 votes is going to be statistically almost impossible. It could happen, but I think it's likely that typically the latecomers are the party people, and the people that the party shakes the bushes and gets them out, and that's going to fall more.
Bernie, you think that really? Well, if it was based on the presidential ballots, I'm not sure that people in the party, so to speak, would necessarily be more for.
No, I don't think that the party. I imagine in Santa Barbara, obviously, it was a Bernie turn. Bernie won Santa Barbara County.
All right, now here's another scenario. Delaney, that there were 200 write-in votes, which is a lot of write-in votes
Yeah.
for that. So,
How many did you get?
huh?
How many did you get?
At least
I'm going to
50.
find out. So, okay, so say, this is hypothetical, obviously. So say she narrows it a little bit, and then they find more and more write-ins, and then DOS goes to 49.9%, and there has to be a runoff between the two of them for the next 8 months. Do you think there would be any difference in the result if they went on for another 8 months?
Yes.
Yes!
Yes, because.
Quit mansplaining.
Yes, because I think that Laura's received probably a lot of feedback from the community about the number one thing that I hear when I'm on the ground is that people think that her campaign's too negative against him. And I think if she had a chance to continue her campaign for months longer, she would definitely change the direction and learn from what just happened, and it could go completely
And
different.
how about DOS? Well, he's a good lawyer.
I don't think
understand.
I
really
don't think
understand.
Doss would change his tactics at all.
Jared, I have to say, you are in such denial here. I mean,
not in
just to
denial.
ask a question. I mean, somebody is in a dark room going, oh my God, I'm not going to wake up in the morning to face a Doss Williams dawn. And they're trying to conjure some sort of path out of the
I'm
darkness.
just telling you what.
I know what you
what
heard.
they're
Just
saying.
what people said. You know, Mike Soker used to say that too. People want me to run. So,
Well, that's what DOS said. He wouldn't have run. He wanted to go to Sacramento, but everybody in Montecito begged him. Please.
I've never heard him say
Oh,
that.
he said that
He
at
said
the-
he wanted to stay in Santa Barbara
He
because he
said
has a
at
family.
anyway. He said at
Laura's the one
Montecito-
who said people
he
came
said-
to me and asked her to run.
Well, which is true.
That's-
Which is actually true. So, do you think that the Santa Barbara Independent editorial made the difference? Was it determinative in this case?
Well, I think that it is influential, and it probably is worth at least 500 votes. So, yeah, it's probably something that did make a difference. And then the fact that so much attention was drawn to it, probably, I know Laura Capps probably thinks that it helped her, and maybe she was able to get some votes or raise some money off of it. But at the end of the day, it just drawed attention to the fact that Doss got the endorsement.
Got the endorsement,
I mean, I think, you're, it's all your fault, Nick.
You've been very, very concerned throughout, to the point where you recused yourself from this race, allegedly, about the hurt feelings and the hostility and the intra-party feuding that would go on in the progressive community. How do you think that stands on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being maximum nuclear war and 0 being...
I think it's going to take some cooling off. Within party insiders and activist community and the environmentalist community, there's going to definitely be some bruised feelings. And in certain camps, I think there are going to be more than bruised feelings. There are going to be serious contusions and lacerations. But, we'll get over it.
Do you agree with me
No.
that it is incumbent upon DOS
To be gracious?
to not be a sore winner and to be gracious?
Are you trying to paint me into the
No,
corner?
it's a yes
Yeah,
or no
yeah.
question.
No, I think Doss should say, this is a time for all of us to come together and heal, and I need to learn from my mistakes. And, the fact that somebody who is so popular and so established came this close to getting knocked off, he has to look at that and go, what did I do to put myself into this position?
And we all know.
And did you feel when you spoke with him on election night that he was in that reflective, kind of insightful state of mind, Josh?
Yeah, well, we all know that Doss Williams sees his former enemies when they embrace him as a sign of integrity, not a badge of shame. So I'm sure he'll openly accept Laura Capps' apology and they can move on together.
Yeah, that's going to happen.
When I talked to him on election night, he seemed
Bitter.
pretty happy that he won, obviously. He did say that, I think the direct quote was something like, the reason she got so close was because of people have so much respect for the Capps name. So he's a little mad at her. He's going to take the digs at her. I don't know what Laura's future holds, but we will all find out. Sort of the conspiracy theories around Doss, where he cut a deal so that no Republican would run, and when some oil thing comes up to the Board of Supervisors, he's going to side with them. All the proof will be in the pudding. We're going to find out eventually, and I guarantee you, if he does anything even close to supporting Plains All-American, that those CAPS people are not going to be happy with that.
I mean, they were smart to go after Republicans. I mean, Republicans in a race like that are just another interest group.
Right.
Like any other interest group. So, that's what they used the independent expenditure for. That was a smart thing to do. And she kind of, attacked him for doing that in a way that would drive away. I mean, it seemed to me she had an opportunity among Republicans, didn't she? That she did not take it as a lost opportunity.
Yeah, she actually did, because, I mean, we were there when she announced, and she was talking about she wasn't going to be such a creature of the party. She was going to reach out to everybody. And so she was going to be much more ecumenical in her approach, whereas Doss is much more seen as a representative of the Democratic Party. And so, yeah, she didn't really do that.
She missed that opportunity. All right. And then in the 3rd district, Joan Hartman is still over 50%, I guess, right?
Yeah.
So were you surprised that she has apparently, at least for now, pending the 40,000 ballots that are out?
Well, I guess it just shows that...
in fact, I believe you sat in that very chair last week and said, no, she would not.
I was happily surprised. That means that is a race we don't have to cover in November. She was running against a field of 4, and so statistically, it seemed unlikely that she was going to get to 50% plus 1. But Bruce Porter was such an odd mix of incongruent parts, and who was the real Bruce Porter, you never really knew. And she got 10,000 votes were cast in Isla Vista the last day.
Last day.
So that is kind of, I think, what made it.
Yeah.
I mean, she did well enough where she needed to in the valley up in San Ynez, but I think Isla Vista
How much oil money did he have? Do we know?
I think it was somewhere like 60, 70, 80,000 bucks by the end of it. Now, technically, the oil companies gave money to the Republican Party, and the Republican Party then did mailers against her, and they were not particularly original or interesting, or they were kind of generic, but they were nasty, and they always had
Tree
pictures.
hugger type of
Yeah,
thing.
she was a socialist. What was the best one? That she was going to force. They were going to seize the gas-powered cars from drivers. So I mean, they were making these claims that they were going to seize your car. And they were using the socialist word, and they were kind of getting into the Republican hysterics.
Yeah. And speaking of being a good winner, have you reached out to Bruce Porter to try to rebuild that bridge after he's viciously attacked you throughout the campaign for exposing his nefarious efforts at voter suppression?
I asked one of our interns to do so. And he said, I will never speak to anyone who is from the Independent.
Did he really? Mm-hmm. You're not making that up?
No, I'm not making it up. I'm saying it right now.
Wow, that's kind of harsh, but okay.
I know.
All right, so then we got Andy Caldwell. Did okay.
He did all right.
44% against
Salud Carbajal.
Salud Carbajal, who again was not here for election night. He sent another hostage tape into KUIT, which they played all night long. He really looked like he was trapped in his office. So here's the good news, okay? Andy Caldwell is not Justin Fareed, so we have that going for us. Also, October 17th, put it in your book. I don't care if the Dodgers are playing, KYT debate between...
you guys can be up on the top of the mountain with the wind blowing?
Yeah, we'll do that one again.
Can you get a helicopter?
So here's the question. Andy Caldwell has already been attacking Salud as a socialist. So if Bernie Sanders ends up as the presidential nominee of the Democratic Party, would Caldwell have a chance, or do you think it's just the registration's just too overwhelming?
I mean, Nothing against Andy Caldwell. He has a large constituency, and he's been very active in politics for a long time, and he knows his stuff, and he's a good guy. I mean, he's a nice conservative dude. But it's just, he can't, no Republican, unless they're a celebrity, is ever going to be able to overcome that gap. And Salud he has conservative support, and he's somebody who's well respected. I just don't think the numbers are there for anyone to overtake Salud unless they're like one of these transitional crossover candidates. Will the Bernie thing affect him?
Yeah.
Probably a little bit, but I don't think he would win anyway.
Salud famously endorsed Beto O'Rourke
Right.
about a week before he crashed.
And then
Kamala Harris,
yeah.
and then she lasted about 2 days. So after his kiss of death, he wouldn't do. I tried to find out before the election who he was going to support or vote for, and Noel wouldn't tell me. But what would Salud do if he was like had this socialist presidential candidate wrapped around his neck? I mean, how?
Salud is so well known in Santa Barbara County, and I think lesser well known up in San Luis. But he's 2 terms. That's just silly. I mean, it's a nice gimmick. It's sort of, again, it's Republican hysterics. Bring out the S word whenever you. I mean, there's Andy saying, I spent half my life.
Bernie is a socialist.
Well, Bernie is a socialist, but Salud is not. Salud was a guy who was trying to give away sweetheart deals with, Rick Caruso and the Miramar Hotel. I mean, he's very transactional, and he's very pragmatic, moderate, middle-of-the-road Democrat. And the idea that he's paragon of socialism would make Bernie Sanders run for the hills.
The thing, every election night on TV, they always say, well, what surprised you on election night? And I had to say, like, nothing surprised me about this election. Did anything surprise you?
Joan surprised me a little bit.
Did it? I
Be-
predicted that. In the show.
Did you?
Yeah. Really?
Yeah.
I thought okay. Well, I mean, it wasn't shocking, but that was a little bit of a surprise. But no, I think literally every other result I actually predicted.
Yeah, anything surprise you? Anything that you didn't expect to happen?
In terms of the results, nothing surprised me. It was pretty much the by-the-book, textbook stuff that
They're all Doraka Democrats.
anyone
right?
who's like non-emotional about it could predict, like, that's logically how it's going to turn out. I was surprised by Charles Cole when I interviewed him because he was a lot less awkward one-on-one in that moment than he came across in the debates, and he came across kind of just really happy and pleased, and he thinks he's got a chance, and we'll see
Well, you predicted Laura would win, though, so that must have been a surprise to you.
Well, hey, there's still a lot of ballots to be counted.
There you go.
There you go. And the write-ins. There's the write-ins.
I want to make sure that everybody's vote counts and matters.
Anything surprise you?
Yeah, what surprised me was how well Joe Biden did. That surprised me. The Biden bump was way more than I expected. That was really surprising. So locally, no, it was all. I mean, the fact that Joan got over the finish line, that was a surprise, but not a shock.
Yeah.
The Biden bump was big.
Yeah, and I think the only thing statewide that surprised me was that Proposition 13
Yeah, that went down.
really went down.
But that's an unlucky number. Come on.
Well, it is and it isn't. The guy who in the assembly who put the thing on the ballot now has got a bill in to retire Prop 13, that you can't use Prop 13
No, it's like the
anymore.
13th floor, right?
That's what but I think it was a sticker shock. $15 billion bond at this point, it just seemed like it was too much.
Nobody even
money.
looked at it.
Well, you know why? Because there was a PLA thing in there. There was there was 2 things. There was a sweetheart thing.
Palestine liberation?
No, there was a sweetheart thing for developers where they would waive school impact fees if they built multi-family units, near transit, which nobody kind of looked at. And then there was, all of it had to be under PLA agreement.
But that assumes that
you don't think the voters drilled down into that?
I don't think anybody gave it even a first look, let alone a second look.
So do you think that people thought they were voting against the real Proposition 13?
I think people just kind of got down to it and said, what are we doing here? And Prop 13, that's not, anybody who remembers what Prop 13 was would just go, no.
All right, real quick, one non-election story. So the city attorney now has a emergency ordinance, I understand, for vacation rentals, the James Fankner Relief Act of 2020. What's that about?
So cities involved in litigation with vacation rental owners, and they have said James Fankner, Theo Kraki, and they both have said that
Russian assets.
The municipal code does not explicitly state that they cannot have vacation rentals in areas that are also zoned for hotels. And the city lost, to Theo Kraki. They lost a preliminary judgment to James Fankner, who, you never want to be on an opposite end of Fankner. He's like wickedly smart. And so what happened was Ariel went in there and decided, well, let's just change the municipal code. It's an emergency ordinance, and this will give them leverage when it goes to court to say it's in our municipal code. Why is it an emergency? We need to preserve affordable housing, and if people we're putting them out as vacation rentals, how can people who need housing live in them?
Isn't this because he's taking a lot of heat for too much litigation and biting off more than he can chew and losing too many cases?
Well, he's been losing a lot of cases, or the city attorney's office has been losing a lot of cases. And the preliminary procedural ruling in this case was against the city. And so he was trying to change the language so that it affirmed how the city has been interpreting what a hotel is and how hotels are used to regulate vacation rentals. Even if they got a pass, which they did, I mean, what difference does it make? The judge is going to look at it and say, you know what, you put on a raincoat, but you're still the same person. And you haven't really changed anything here. And
Raincoat.
I don't understand that. Usually I get your
little
metaphors, but I didn't get
You
this one.
usually get his non-sequitur.
Yes.
How about lipstick on a pig?
Lipstick on a pig.
Okay.
All
There you
right.
go.
So is he on 10 seconds? So is he in danger of losing his position? Is Paul Casey going to throw him under the bus?
I don't know, but
No. Yes,
I think
no?
I think he's in a volatile situation, and he better be close to perfect over the next few months.
All right. We'll leave it there. Thanks to Delaney Smith, Josh Molina, and Nick Welsh. Thank you for watching, and please visit our website, newsmakerswithjr.com, to check out my blog posts on politics and media in Santa Barbara and beyond, and where you can also painlessly sign up for a free email subscription, and check out our YouTube channel for an archive of past shows and interviews that will instantly relieve your insomnia. Thanks again to our peerless director, J.P. Montalvo, to our crew, Sean, Mark, and Ryan, and as always, our senior, top-ranking, high-powered, high-energy executive producer, Hap Freund. Thanks. We'll see you next time on Newsmakers.